Welcome to the Deep Dive. We're here to basically give you the shortcut to understanding really complex stuff. And today, we're tackling this age-old puzzle, something Aristotle even pointed out. Why do really, really smart people, high IQ folks, sometimes just crash and burn in their actual lives?
It's that disconnect, isn't it? We all see it. The brilliant coder who, can't navigate a simple argument, or the business leader who just melts down under pressure. We've sort of been taught that IQ is everything.
Right. The ultimate predictor.
Yeah, but the evidence, it just doesn't stack up like that. Something else is clearly missing. So our deep dive today focuses on Daniel Goleman's work on emotional intelligence, EQ. We're pulling out the core ideas, the practical bits, so you can grasp EQ not just as some theory, but as, Goleman calls it the master aptitude for handling life.
And straight out of the gate, Goleman hits you with this really fascinating idea. We don't just have one mind. We've basically got two operating systems running. There's the rational mind, the thinking, planning part up in the neocortex. And then there's the emotional mind, much older, faster, rooted in the limbic system. And, they clash a lot. That's kind of the human condition, right?
It is. But to really get that clash, you have to see the emotional mind isn't, faulty. It has a purpose.
Yeah. Evolutionarily speaking, emotions weren't just feelings. They were like instant action commands.
Action commands.
Yeah, think about it. Fight, flee, freeze. That needed to happen now, way before our ancestors could logically weigh the options of, say, running from a saber-toothed cat. Emotions ensured survival. They're vital.
Okay, vital. I get that. But maybe not always helpful today. This is where Goleman gets into what he calls the anatomy of an emotional hijacking. It sounds dramatic, but it's about how the brain processes things.
Right. So imagine information coming into your brain. There's the scenic route, the slow, logical highway where you think things through, but there's also an express lane, a neurological shortcut.
And that shortcut, that goes right through a little almond-shaped structure called the amygdala. Goleman calls it the seat of all passion. If something, a look, a word, even a memory, triggers that amygdala, it's right, it can unleash this massive, overwhelming emotional wave. And here's the kicker. You're reacting, yelling, hitting the brakes, maybe firing off that angry email. Before your sinking brain, the cortex is even fully caught up.
Okay. So that's why you sometimes say something in anger and 2 seconds later think, oh no, why did I say that?
Exactly. The emotional response just jumps the queue. It hijacks the system. And this is the biological reason why sheer brain power, high IQ, doesn't automatically mean you'll succeed in life or be happy.
Because if you can't manage that hijacking,
your smarts get sidelined.
Yeah.
Your EQ, your ability to handle those emotional surges, it ends up impacting things like your job, your relationships, way more often than your technical skills.
Okay, so EQ is this master key. Let's unlock it. Goleman breaks it down, building on Howard Gardner's idea of multiple intelligences into 5 main parts. These are the ones to remember, right?
Yes, these 5 are core. You've got self-awareness, self-regulation, motivation, empathy, and social skills. That's the whole package, the master aptitude.
And we start with self-awareness.
Absolutely. It's the foundation. Simply put, it's knowing what you're feeling as you're feeling it. And crucially, understanding how that feeling might be coloring your thoughts or decisions.
Goleman talks about different types of people here, doesn't he?
He does. He points out you have people who are genuinely self-aware, they're clear on their emotions. Then you have people who get completely swallowed up by their feelings, they can't see the wood for the trees. And then there are those who kind of accept their feelings but are a bit detached, observing them from afar.
And the extreme lack of this is, what was it, alexithymia?
Alexithymia, yeah. It's a real condition. It means you literally struggle to identify or put words to your own emotions. Imagine feeling stressed or upset, but when someone asks, all you can say is, I'm fine. If you can't even name the feeling.
You've got no chance of managing it.
Precisely. Which leads us straight into number 2. Self-regulation. This is about what you do with that awareness. If you lack this, Goleman says you become a slave to passion.
Sounds dramatic, but I guess it means things like chronic anger or constant worry.
Exactly. Those intense, uncontrolled emotions don't just feel bad. They actively mess up your thinking, your decisions, your relationships. The goal isn't to stop feeling things. That's impossible. It's about managing them, maybe redirecting that energy.
And this idea of managing impulses, that connects to that famous experiment, doesn't it? The marshmallow test.
Oh, absolutely. Classic study. Yep. You offer a kid 1 marshmallow now or 2 if they could just wait 15 minutes. Seems simple.
But the results were huge, weren't they?
Monumental. That ability to delay gratification, which is basically self-regulation in action, predicted so much later in life. Better resilience, handling stress better, even higher SAT scores, better life outcomes years down the line.
Wow. So it wasn't just about being smart. It was about being able to control that impulse.
That's what the data strongly suggests. The regulated kid often did better than the purely smart kid who couldn't wait.
Okay, so we've got understanding yourself, awareness, and managing yourself, regulation. What's next? Moving outward.
Exactly. Now we shift to others. Component 3 is empathy. This is your ability to tune into what other people are feeling and respond appropriately.
It's more than just sympathy, like feeling sorry for someone.
Much more. It's feeling with someone. It's rooted in our neurology, mirror neurons, and all that. And it's absolutely critical, not just in families or friendships, but in complex work situations too. Think negotiations, customer service, teamwork.
If you can't read the room emotionally, you're at a huge disadvantage.
Huge. And that empathy is the key ingredient for the final piece. Social skills. This is where EQ gets really practical. It's about communication, influencing people, handling disagreements constructively.
Goleman talks about display rules here, right? Like how we know to act differently at a party versus a funeral.
Yes, those unwritten social codes about expressing emotion. Mastering those is part of social skill. But also think about emotional contagion.
Oh, like when someone's bad mood brings everyone else down.
Precisely. Or someone's enthusiasm lifts the whole group. Emotions are literally contagious, often spreading without a word being said. Your ability to navigate that, maybe even shape the emotional tone. That's high-level social skill. That's leadership collaboration.
Okay, let's put this framework into action. Where does EQ really make or break things in everyday life? Goleman talks about relationships, calling them potential grounds for intimate enemies. Ouch.
Yeah, it highlights how critical EQ is in partnerships. It helps couples handle conflict without it spiraling into what he calls emotional flooding.
Flooding, like being totally overwhelmed.
Exactly. You get so swamped by stress or negativity, your heart's pounding, you feel attacked, that your rational brain just shuts down. You literally can't think straight or listen properly anymore.
That sounds familiar.
It's where John Gottman's research, which Goleman draws on, is so revealing. Gottman found successful couples aren't necessarily conflict-free. Instead, they have the emotional skills to repair the connection after a fight. They can soothe themselves, soothe their partner, read the signals accurately.
And he noted some gender patterns, too.
Yeah, observing tendencies like men sometimes withdrawing when flooded, while women might pursue discussion, which can create that classic, frustrating impasse. EQ is the toolkit to bridge that gap.
Okay, shifting gears completely. What about the workplace? Managing with heart, as Goleman puts it. Does EQ matter if you're just, say, coding or crunching numbers?
Absolutely, even in technical roles. Think about giving or receiving feedback. Delivering tough criticism with empathy makes it much more likely to be heard and acted on, rather than just sparking defensiveness.
Makes sense.
And it's even bigger when you look at teams. Goleman talks about group IQ. It's not just about having a bunch of smart individuals. It's about the team's collective ability to work together smoothly.
So a team of geniuses with zero EQ could actually perform worse than a team of average folks with high EQ.
Potentially, yes. If they can't communicate, manage disagreements, or build trust, their individual brilliance gets wasted. Collaboration requires emotional competence.
And this even links to our physical health, the mind and medicine section. That sounds a bit, well, is it scientifically solid?
Oh, very much so. It's
Yeah.
straight up biology. Chronic stress, unchecked anger, constant anxiety. These things flood your body with stress hormones like cortisol.
Which isn't good long term.
Not at all. It wears down your immune system, makes it harder to recover from illness or injury, and increases the risk for all sorts of health problems. Goleman makes a strong case for integrating emotional support into healthcare because managing emotional distress actually helps patients heal faster. It's measurable.
Wow. Okay, so if EQ is this powerful and impacts everything from relationships to health, the big question is, can you change it? Or are you just born with a certain level? Let's talk development, the family crucible.
This is so crucial. Goleman argues that our earliest experiences, especially with parents, are like the primary school for our emotions. Parenting styles really do shape a child's developing EQ.
How so?
An attuned parent, one who notices a child's feelings, validates them, helps them calm down, teaches that child foundational skills in self-awareness and self-soothing. But neglectful, or worse, abusive parenting, That can hardwire different patterns, like shutting down emotions entirely or learning you have to scream to be noticed. These patterns have long-lasting effects on school performance, friendships, everything.
That sounds potentially quite bleak if you had a tough start. Is there hope for change later on, especially if there's been trauma?
There is, and this is really important. Goleman discusses how trauma can effectively reset the brain's alarm system, the amygdala,
Yeah.
making it hypersensitive. You react to triggers as if the danger is still present.
Like PTSD.
Exactly. But the brain is adaptable. Therapeutic approaches, often starting with creating a sense of safety, can help rewire those circuits. Talking, art therapy, journaling. These methods help create distance from the traumatic memory and replace those automatic panic reactions with more conscious responses. Emotional relearning is definitely possible.
That's incredibly hopeful. Which ties into another key message. Temperament is not destiny.
Right. We all have innate temperamental leanings, don't we? Some babies are just naturally more fearful, others more bold or easygoing. That's partly biological.
So you are kind of stuck with it.
No, that's the point. That's your starting point, not your final destination. Goleman stresses that temperament is highly modifiable. Your upbringing, your experiences, focused effort, gentle encouragement, all these things can shape and nudge that initial wiring over time.
So the shy kid isn't necessarily doomed to be a shy adult.
Not at all. They can learn skills, build confidence. Emotional skills are like muscles. They can be developed with practice.
Which begs the question, if these skills are so vital and learnable, why aren't we systematically teaching them? Goleman seems pretty passionate about this.
He is. He points to the huge societal costs of what he calls emotional illiteracy. Things like rising aggression, relationship breakdowns, mental health crises. His argument is for schooling the emotions. Meaning making skills like self-awareness, empathy, impulse control, conflict resolution, a standard part of education, just like reading or math. We need to explicitly teach this stuff.
So we graduate people who are not just book smart, but life smart too.
Exactly. We can't afford not to, really. Equipping people with both sets of competencies.
Okay, so we started way back with Aristotle's puzzle, Why Smart People Do Foolish Things. And Goleman's answer through this deep dive is that managing the tension between our emotional and rational minds requires a specific skill set. Self-awareness, self-regulation, motivation, empathy, social skills. That's the shortcut.
That's the core framework, yes. It provides the map.
So the final thought for you, the listener, comes from that idea that temperament isn't destiny, that these skills can be learned, that the brain can change.
Right. So if that's true, if you're not locked into your current emotional patterns, the question becomes, what's one small, concrete thing you could practice starting today? Maybe it's pausing for 3 seconds before replying to that email. Maybe it's trying to actually name the feeling when you get frustrated. What's one step you can take to actively start building your own emotional competence? Because the potential for growth is there. The work just needs to begin.